Thanks for joining us here at Good Teams Win Great Teams Cover. We're back with another Fantasy Game Day Sunday Stars 10-minute tips, this time for Week 4 in the NFL. If you don't know about it already, Fantasy Game Day is the UK's premier NFL daily fantasy platform that we are proud and have the pleasure to be partnered with. If you've not played Fantasy Game Day before, go download it now from your Apple App Store, Google Play Store, wherever you get your apps from. Use promo code COVER, all in capital letters, when you sign up. This will give you a free game to the value of £7.50 after your first paid entry. And there's so much to love, so many different games, whether it's standalone games, full slates, classic formats, or the Fantasy Game Day standard version with the captains. Whatever you're into, whether you're new or a veteran of NFL daily fantasy, come and join us, come get involved. Got to be 18 years or over to play in the UK. And of course, as always, please gamble responsibly. Byron, Joe, we're here. Shall we just get straight into it? Let's see what we're liking this week. Joe, do you want to hit us up with your quarterback tip this week?
Yeah, I've got Justin Herbert. We were chatting about this before the pod. The quarterbacks were a lot trickier this week with the price and with some of the matchups. So I've got Justin Herbert, 7,800. It is fairly expensive, but he has been, I think he's got the most amount of passing yards this year. And I think he's going to have another big game against this Giants defense, which, was susceptible to the deep ball against the Chiefs. Obviously, the Cowboys put plenty of points of them. So I think this Chargers team can do the same and, score points.
Yeah, weirdly, I've taken the flip of that primarily because it is so difficult this week. I think with the quarterbacks, they're all kind of high end of the pricing. I've just taken the cheapest starting option, and that's Jackson Dart, who's making his first NFL start. Tough one against the Chargers defense. This is more an enabler in terms of the money you're saving here. You can invest and maybe have a third premium option, or really go high end on two top premium options. So that's the theory behind this. If he can just do okay and stay out of trouble, there's potential for some obviously extra points rushing. He might run in a touchdown or two, possibly, who knows. Just need him to try and have a kind of clean game. Doesn't have to be spectacular. If you can get me like 12, 15 points, that's good at that money. And then, like I say, you've got hopefully your premium options that you're picking elsewhere hit, and that's where that sends you to the top of the leaderboard. Byron, returning to an old friend.
My man, Geno Smith, yes. And we're not going heavy on the Geno Smith stuff here. He's the quarterback 10 in pricing. He's quarterback 12 on the season so far. But all 12 of them quarterbacks aren't on the slate because it's just a Sunday slate here. But the big thing is he's up against Chicago, who allowed the third total fantasy points to quarterbacks. In non-fantasy point stuff, just actual quarterback play, they have the 7th most passing yards allowed, the most touchdowns allowed, the 5th worst passer rating allowed, 10th worst sack percentage, and 6th worst total sacks. Even the Raiders' bad offensive line should be able to stand up to that kind of pressure. And we seen last week he can hit Trey Tucker even when they lose. Geno's good. The Bears' defense isn't. Simple enough for me.
Excellent. Let's move on to our wide receiver options. I'll jump in first. Just as I sort of mentioned there, having the cheap quarterback enables some more premium options. So I'm going to take what I think is probably, for me, best premium option of the week. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown's matchup against the Cleveland Browns, but the Cleveland Browns are the best defense in the NFL. You must be crazy. They're trash on the road. If you heard it in our preview, in the last 10 Cleveland Brown road games, they give up 29 points. I can't even remember my own stat. Late 20s a game, and the Lions have been scoring nearly 40 at home in their last 10 home games. I'm expecting it to be very similar in terms of the Lions scoring a lot of points. It was Montgomery on Monday night that kind of got the main benefit. I think it's going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown having a monster game in this one. Hopefully a multiple touchdown, 100-yard day. But I just love the matchup, even though it's against the best defense currently in the NFL. Byron?
Yeah, Chris Olave, I've gone at Buffalo. Huge underdogs in this game, which means that they're probably going to be throwing a lot. Chris Olave is currently the wide receiver 24 in PPR scoring. Despite that, he is wide receiver 34 in the price on the Sunday slate alone. Olave leads the NFL in expected fantasy points for receivers, but he has yet to have a touchdown. He's got 4 end zone targets, which is 4th in the league. Buffalo have allowed 3 top 24 wide receivers through the first 3 weeks. Olave ranks 13th out of 70 wide receivers to have 75 routes in the league in first read percentage. So Spencer Rattler knows where he's throwing that ball immediately. And in threat rate, which is designated pass plays for a specific wide receiver, he's 7th in the league behind only Puka, Garrett Wilson, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, Nico Collins, Chris Neighbors, and then Chris Olave. He's exactly what we hoped he would be this season. Hopefully he gets into the end zone this week and can get into that top 12 range. But I think he's going to get peppered with targets as long as he's fit and healthy, and he's shown it so far.
Excellent. And Joe?
Yeah, I've got my cheap option here. So I've gone DeMarcus Robinson for the San Francisco 49ers at 2,200. With Juwan Jennings out, Kittle out, Pearsall's questionable. It seems like he's going to play, so I'd recommend Pearsall as well. But I've gone DeMarcus Robinson, who's just coming back from a suspension. From all the preseason hype, apparently him and Purdy were hitting. They were on the house on fire in all the training sessions. So especially, coming from, I think he was the Rams and the McVay tree beforehand, and then the Chiefs. So I think he's going to fit into this offense really nicely, and he could go straight into being the wide receiver 2 or 3. And at that cheap price, you need some cheap players. So I think they might target him against his Jacksonville defense, where he might get some nice matchups. And he only needs to get over 50 yards, and I think it's a well worth cheap option.
Excellent. Good stuff. And our final run. So we've got our running backs or tight ends, depending how we've chosen. Joe, roll through with yours.
Yeah, so I chose a tight end since you guys chose 2 running backs. I've got Hunt Henry, the Patriots tight end against the Panthers. It feels like he is currently their number 1 target. I know I recommended Booty a few weeks back, but it looks like Hunter's taking over in the majority of targets. He had a big game last week. I know I had him in fantasy and he got 20 plus points. So I'm expecting another big game where he's going to get plenty of the ball. This Panthers defense, they shut out the Falcons last week, but I don't know if they're going to be a week on, week out monster defense. So if the Patriots are going to score points, it's probably going to come through Henry. So I've got Hunter Henry there. And we'll move on to yours, Paul, another Patriots.
Yes, I've got Trayvon Henderson. I have to just quickly look on the sheet. I'm terrible at this when we don't have the name, so apologies. And Trayvon Henderson, so it's been a slow start for Trayvon Henderson of the New England Patriots. I think it's safe to say we were expecting him to take on a lot more of the work and maybe be a bit more explosive than what we've seen so far. I think what might help him with this is Ramondre Stevenson can't keep hold of the ball. And if I know Mike Vrabel, he's going to demand that Henderson sees a lot more of it as a result. I'm thinking this might be the week where Henderson has, we see him get 20 touches, and we'll see what he can do with a fuller workload. And at 4,400, again, I think that's a good option that helps you spend a little bit more money elsewhere.
And Henderson's going to go off 1 week, sooner or later.
Feels like it.
I have gone for someone, you speak about slow start, maybe a hot start and a slow meandering career since then. Am I talking him up enough? Isaiah Pacheco at 3,000 is a running back 30 on the pricing for this week, I believe. Let me just double check that. He is running back 30 in pricing this week. He hasn't been sexy. He hasn't been great, but he is playing the Baltimore Ravens this week. The Ravens have allowed 3 top 24 running backs through 3 weeks. They have allowed 112.4 fantasy points PPR to running backs. Cincinnati are second with 90.2, so a huge advantage if you go pull against Ravens. The Ravens have allowed the 4th most 15-plus yard runs. They've got the worst running TD rate in the league. 7.7% of carries against Baltimore go for a touchdown. They've got the 2nd worst stuff rate against runs in the league. They've got the worst yards after contact per attempt and the 4th worst yards before contact per attempt in the league. The Ravens are soft on defense, something you don't think you would ever say, but they are. They're a soft team. Even Isaiah Pacheco can get going, can get a couple of touchdowns this week, unless Patrick Mahomes takes them all. But I think Pacheco's going to get some work. He hasn't had a top 10 fantasy performance since week 17 of 2023. But I think he cracks that this week with a dominant performance against this awful Ravens rush defense.
Excellent. Those are our 9 top tips for Fantasy Game Day. So come and get involved in the UK's best NFL daily fantasy platform. Go download it now, Fantasy Game Day, through your app store. Find it. Download it. Sign up using promo code COVER, all in capital letters. You'll receive a free game. That's a credit of £7.50. Spend it how you like in the app. After you've put in your first paid entry. Like I say, there's games for daily fantasy beginners, daily fantasy veterans and experts. £3 lineups all the way to 25 quid. So whatever your level, come and get involved and have some fun and play the UK's best NFL daily fantasy offering. Reminders to come follow us. Good Teams with Great Teams cover. We're available on podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Podbean, Overcast, all good podcast platforms, and some rubbish ones as well. And make sure you're following us on YouTube for the video version, X, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky. Make sure you get all our posts, all our bets, all our tips for the NFL week in, week out. And we will catch you on Tuesday for our NFL Week 4 review.